yeah, I don't know if my mission was for the people who didn't act right to somehow have a aha, that would have been a waste of time writing this book because they didn't act right when I told them they weren't acting right while they were doing it. So what about it being in a book would make them change? And furthermore, they don't have access to me. Even if you did have a change of heart or you felt something, uh, you're not adding any value.
And stereo. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Live Strong Project. Of course, you know who I am. I'm your gracious host, AC, and as always, it's an honor to bring you the Live Strong Project as we always do. So, in today's world, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in today's world. We don't want to get into everything, but one of the things that I think we've probably in the last 10 years or so, and longer than that, but just the structures and the beliefs around race. So as Black people, we know, hey, race it's a touchy subject, right? Stemming from everything we've gone through in the 60s, 70s, and even today, that's a touchy subject. But when you're biracial, you often get caught up in two worlds, and being biracial in today's world can mean navigating multiple identities while learning where you truly belong. So the journey of discovering who you are beyond labels and expectations, I think, this is just humbly me, I believe that's where real strength begins. So on today, our guest, he's a licensed therapist. He's an author, which I'm really dying to get into, the whole author piece with him because his book is special. So, well, it's not really, but we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But he has experience as, of course, a biracial child growing up in America, born around the 1992 Los Angeles riots. White mother, father from Sierra Leone. He shares a powerful story of navigating culture and self-discovery. Through his music-inspired memoir and his work as a therapist, he now helps others move toward clarity, confidence, and wholeness. So, on today, Life Strong family, I want you to give a warm round of applause for our guest, Mr. Johnzelle Anderson. What's going on? How are you doing?
Hello. First of all, thank you for that intro. That's made me
I
feel,
try.
made me feel real special. I'm doing well. I got a large Diet Coke here that I'm sipping on, so
Hey,
bills are paid.
there
We
you
just
go.
passed the first of the month, so
And into
uh,
like you said earlier, in today's economy, that's good.
the biggest
That's
flex as an adult is having your stuff on auto pay.
Ooh, there you go. Well, there you go. And to be honest, everybody can't do that right about now. So if you have yours on auto pay, hey,
You're doing okay.
you're doing okay. Hey, so why don't
Yeah.
you kick this whole thing off and start, by telling the Life Strong family who Johnzelle Anderson is.
That is a ever-evolving, dynamic question, but I'll try.
Okay.
I am a human. I am a Black person. I am a father. I am a company of one. I am an avid reader. I am anxious. I am a storyteller, and I'm a partner. I'm a family member. I am a citizen of my community.
Okay. So can you tell us about the beginnings of Johnzelle? So reading your bio, I understand you were, born in 1992 around those LA riots and are you from, where are you from? You're from LA?
No, I'm not. I am from Roanoke, Virginia, which is Southwest Virginia.
Okay. Right.
I've lived in the state of Virginia my whole life, so I currently live near the capital of Virginia, which is Richmond.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where I'm located.
So born around 1992, and here you are, you know, you're biracial.
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about your humble beginnings.
Yeah. So you mentioned the book, and we'll probably get into that. But
Oh yeah. Oh,
and
definitely, definitely.
yeah, yeah. So I kind of uh, I kind of talk about those formative years of having a white mother and a West African father, and in the '90s they refer to you as mixed, and so but in my situation, I was primarily raised by my white mother and didn't have much influence or presence from the black father. But
Okay.
you're no matter how you slice it, I'm black being raised in whiteness.
Mm,
I don't pass as white, by any stretch of the imagination. So um, the identity development, kind of like you said in your intro, is the world will define you, right? Like before I ever knew what race was, I was somewhat aware of the one drop rule, right?
mm,
I and then the interesting thing is like my first racists were my caregivers, and uh, feeling like, okay, I didn't choose my identity, but am I too black, or am I not black enough, or
okay.
but I'm too black to be white enough, like that kind of but then everyone on the outside defining who they think you are, projecting things upon you. So the book and the stories that I share is kind of talking about that miseducation from the beginning, which is
Right.
what that section of the book is called. And then it goes into unlearning and graduation. So kind of going through that progression of identity development.
Right. You and I. So you mentioned the word mixed, um,
Hmm.
and that's I'll be honest. I'm in my earlier days, and I didn't mean it. I don't think we meant it, or at least I didn't mean it. In a derogatory fashion. But the explain to us how that word um made you feel, because to me back then it was just the term. It was just a term that everybody used to define, and like you said, the world would define you, and they defined you as mixed. And like we would hear other people say, I would hear biracial people say the word mixed,
Hmm.
and so I just assumed, in my, I guess, my ignorance, that that was okay to say.
I've never had a negative feeling about the word mixed.
Okay.
I that was just what people called me. Now I take offense to when people have said like half breed or mixed breed
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, like I'm a cow or a dog. But mixed itself never
Right.
bothered me. Um, but some of the other ones that kind of derive from that are problematic. But it's more so that, like you mentioned earlier, that races of, I mean, you didn't say it specifically, but it's a social construct. It's
Right.
based on the environment and who is speaking on it and what their motives are. Um, but before I ever open my mouth, before you know my name, someone can be like, "Oh, he's mixed." When you see me with a white mother, right? Or if I'm with my West African father who has, you know, uh, darker children than me, and I'm the oddball, like you're gonna be like, "Oh, he's mixed," right?
Right.
Um, uh, so that identity being a default or an assumption before someone knows who you are as an individual is kind of just part of the existence. But the term itself doesn't bother me.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier, you said, you experienced some sort of racism from caregivers.
Hmm.
How did
Yeah.
how did that? I mean, because I'm trying to paint this picture, and I'm like, wow, that's when you say caregivers, are you talking teachers or
My mother,
tutors?
my grandmother.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
So wow. So your own mother, were those feelings of anger towards your father, or were they actually racism towards you?
I I think it was in my adulthood, in the era of the book that is under the section of like unlearning.
Mm-hmm.
Once I got out of my childhood and lived on my own, I was able to get insight into what the rest of the world was looking like, and then I was able to be like, wow, that was wrong. That was
Right.
racist, that was abuse, that you start to know better. um but you know my mother would say the N word with the hard R, you know, and she's a white lady, right? And she thought, because she had black children, that was okay. Um,
Okay.
uh, there were phrases. I don't think I put this in the book, but even something about like, okay, get in the car. You're gonna ride nigger in the back, kind of thing. Like phrases like that. And I didn't realize that it was you know, problematic and where it was coming from
Wow.
until I was an adult. But the trying to not be too much or enough in different spaces was what kind of developed from that. So, and then of course you get into school and the black kids are like, well, you're not black enough, or
Right.
the white kids are like, well, you're black
Well, you're
and
black.
this
Yeah.
is what we assume about you. So and then it was the 90s, but there are people who feel a way about a white person with black children, and which of course is evidence that they're not sticking to their race or whatever. So um, your your mere existence is never gonna satisfy everyone. So
Mm.
yeah, racism is all around us. Even though it's a social construct, it's oftentimes other people's problems with your existence that you didn't ask to be here, which is,
Wow.
it's ridiculous all around. So,
Wow. So you mentioned when you became an adult, you realized things were wrong. And I think you mentioned therapy, and
hmm
you yourself are a therapist now, right?
hmm
And so talk about that transition. So here you are, you become an adult. You have the feeling that something's not right. I need to go talk to somebody about this, and then you transition that into I'm going to do this thing that helped me get from you know, point A to point B.
yeah, I was in college. I was studying psychology,
Mm. So
but
you
I
knew
was
you wanted to be a therapist from the beginning.
no, I didn't
Oh,
actually.
okay.
So I was studying psychology in the state of Virginia at the time. You couldn't major in education, so I was going to be a teacher.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay.
was I was a psychology major, minor in elementary education, and I was going to be an elementary school teacher. And so now, mind you, college was me getting away from my family of origin to some extent,
Okay.
um, but there was still obviously there was a lot of trauma that I went through prior to that I wasn't fully making sense of. But of course, studying psychology and and starting to understand like what is dysfunction, what is trauma,
Mm.
what is how do our brains adapt in cognition and development and
Right.
all this stuff. So the wheels were spinning. But then with the teacher part, I did some internships and I got to the point where I was like, I hate kids. I don't want to do this. So, um,
Okay.
and then that kind of spun me into a crisis because I was like, well, I'm like a junior in college. Like, if I'm not going to be a teacher, what am I going to do? And that was like the catalyst where I kind of, freaked out. I've had anxiety my whole life, I believe, but
Okay.
it came to the forefront where at that point I was having like 10 panic attacks a day, which
Wow.
became so unsustainable. That's what got me into therapy as a college student, they allowed you to go to the counseling center for free. And so
Right.
I did
Okay.
therapy, and then I started taking medication. And then once I started to stabilize, I was like, well, I want to be a teacher, so why don't we become a therapist? You know, I already got the psychology bachelor's. Let's go to grad school and become a therapist. So, and it ended up being between studying psychology undergrad, um, and then doing, you know, the master's degree in professional counseling. It almost like, because you're supposed to be getting the fundamentals on how to help people with their various things, and it's like, oh shit, before I ever set foot in grad school, I had a cute like 22 years of like intensive mental health, like on the ground experience from my childhood. So it
Right.
had turned into a vehicle in which I could, um, as Biggie says, turn negatives into positives. So
Hmm.
the things that were painful to me can become lessons or anecdotes or experiences that I can use to help someone on a similar journey. And as a storyteller, I do that same thing. Like I quite literally took my, you know, pain and put it somewhere where it can be humorous, creative, but also it could help someone be seen. So um, it evolved into, I was going through it. Um, I was like, I could do this, and then I went and did it. But yeah, don't ever trust a therapist who ain't been to therapy. So
Okay. So, but we won't know if they've been to therapy or not. They're not going
ask
to
them.
tell us. You can, so that's the first thing you're
Yeah,
going to do. Hey, by the way, I
you
need
ever
your
been to
help.
therapy?
I
If
have,
they say
yes, but
no,
I've never
run.
asked.
No, 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 no. When you go to to a new therapist, be like, hey, have you ever been to therapy, therapist? Just
And if they say no, just be like, all right, I'm out.
be well. Yeah, because you got to think, uh, you're giving access to your vulnerability to someone.
Hmm.
It would be beneficial if the person knew what it was like to be in your shoes.
Mm.
Um,
Oh,
so
and it makes sense. I
practice what
just
you
never.
preach.
I, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I've never asked that question. I bet you I am now though.
I'm a
So
bit more assertive than the average, so I say the
okay.
thing that everyone else is thinking. So.
Okay. So in perfect segue because you showed mixtape. Now,
Mhm.
and I don't want to, I want you to explain expect is exactly what mixtape is, but it's not your average. It's a memoir, correct? But it's
Mhm.
not your average everyday memoir. That's the beauty in it. That I want you to explain it, but before you even talk about it, just reading about it, I was like, oh, that's dope. Like that's so as you're telling us what mixtape is and about, how did you come up with that idea?
Okay. So mixtape is my favorite thing I've ever written. It um, I'll try my best to be concise about it. So um, it's a double meaning. The
Hmm.
first, obviously, the word mixtape. We know what a mixtape is you
Right,
put a
right.
playlist together with a loose meaning, whatever. Um, and so, with that literal meaning, this book is based around a playlist. It's not based around a table of contents.
Hmm.
So, at the beginning of the book, there is some QR codes to where you can go to the actual playlist on Spotify or Apple Music, and the playlist to this book will be there, the mixtape, right? And so, as you get through reading, I don't have chapter titles. I use the track titles as the
Right.
marker for, and I call my chapters tracks. So you'll see a cassette tape with the song on there. So the opening of the book is Notorious Thugs by Biggie featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony. And there's something in each of the songs that I selected that kind of connects to what I'm going to say in that section of the book. Like Notorious Thugs, the line that I think of is been in the shit since 92. Look at all the bullshit I've been through. That's the opening track to the book because I was born in 1992 and you about to
Right.
read about the bullshit I've been through. So I did that because I'm a very, I can't remember a time in my life where I wasn't immersed in music. Like even like the cover is me sitting next to a boombox, right? Like
Right.
I am constantly immersed in music, and we talked about like stories. Music is stories. It's resonating, it's connecting, right?
Right.
And so I thought of like, okay, a memoir is not necessarily a life story, but mine just happens to be a memoir that covers a longer span of time. So it's the months leading up to my birth through about age 31. And
Okay.
it's a long span of time, but the uh, I'm telling my story, and it's through the written word, but I imagine like if I'm making the movie of my life, like through writing this book, how do I want to do that? And I think of like, well, what's the soundtrack? As a person who loves music so much, I'm thinking like, oh, what was the soundtrack? Like, I was that kid who would like watch MTV and I'd be like, oh, this is from the soundtrack of this movie, of
Mm.
this like the score or whatever it was that went with that movie. It was another way to propel that story forward, and I wanted
Right.
my the story speaks for itself, but I wanted the mixtape to be the framework for how I told my story. And it was really fun to kind of select the tracks and change them around,
Right.
and kind of let the readers decide like, okay, he chose the song, I wonder why. And then you read it and everyone's going to get a little bit different maybe
Right.
meaning
So
or pull something
I
from
was
it.
gonna ask you. So like I can imagine you sitting there and immersing yourself in all this music, and then you having to decide that one or maybe that one is more. So what was that process like? Like I mean, because most, if correct me if I'm wrong, but most, if not all of the songs are hip hop rap related, correct?
Yes, most of them are hip hop, R&B, pop.
Right.
I'm gonna open up to it
There's
right now.
there's a lot of music out there.
Yeah, so I think
There's a
there's
lot.
36. I think there's 36 tracks.
Okay.
Uh, uh, so most of it is hip hop, R&B, pop. The majority of the artists are black. There's a few sprinkles of white in there, but um, what was the question about? You
What
said about how did I go about choosing?
what was that process like for you? Like you're sitting there with all this music that's available, like,
Hmm.
and I'm sure you got to a point where one of those tracks or slash chapters,
Hmm.
there could have been 10 songs
Yes.
that would have fit perfectly. What was that decision process like?
Uh, it was fun, and because originally, early on in the writing process, I had the quotes from the songs.
Okay, all right,
So,
all right.
for example, "Been in the shit since '92. Look at all the bullshit I've been through" was at the start of the chapter.
Okay.
I got through however many rounds of edits and things like that, and then at towards the end, the publisher was like, "You got to remove these. That's copyright infringement."
Right.
And I was under the impression that I was using fair use because it wasn't a ton, but I don't want to get sued. So I took them out and I was like upset about it. But then it ended up working out because those cassettes, the internal or the interior design and the way it looks it worked out better.
Mhm.
But uh, I listen to music and sometimes I would throw something on like the little playlist I was keeping and I was like, ooh, this could prompt something to write about. Because as I'm structuring things, I'll feel something. And the music doesn't necessarily go with the time period that I'm writing about. Like in my earlier years, we have like I have track 3 is Sidewalks by The Weeknd featuring Kendrick Lamar. Track 4
Okay.
is Get Up 10 by Cardi B. Like those artists were not out in the
Right.
90s. Like,
Right.
so they're not necessarily like tied to the time period, but there's something about that song that connects with what I'm writing about. And so, like Sidewalks, The Weeknd says, grew up with no father, so nobody ever son me. And that was what I used that in the part where I'm basically saying, okay, who is my father and what is the situation surrounding
Mhm.
my birth, right? So the music helped me as a writer kind of collect my ideas and or even today, like I'll hear something in a song and it'll give me a writing prompt of maybe a poem to write or an
Mm,
essay to work on and stuff like that. So yeah, there was a lot of kind of playing around with that, and I think at the very end there were a couple of switches of some songs, and uh, because then when it became like, okay, the track is the chapter title, there was one that didn't quite fit. The original song was the special by Lizzo, the remix featuring SZA,
okay.
and I had that in there, but with the track title of my section of the writing being special, my editor said, well, you're saying that this chapter is called special, but you're not feeling very special with what you write in that part of it. So that doesn't fit.
Mm,
It's almost like it has to be cohesive, and this
I got you.
structure that you've created has to be uniform. So I
Okay.
swapped that one out, and I think I put, what did I put? Oh, I put Brave Face by Hallie
Okay.
there, which um, had just come out. So in the final thing, like when I originally wrote the book, that song wouldn't have been an available thing to me, but I had
Right.
been listening to that song on repeat, and it fit really well with what that track of the book looked like. So it was kind of like I'm not a musician, but I felt
Mhm.
like I was like in the lab, like cooking up like
Yeah, yeah, I can.
a bomb playlist. So yeah,
Yeah,
I got to have
but
fun
didn't
with
we?
it.
We all felt like. Well, first of all, I know there's a lot of like, if there's anybody who was born in the 2000s, first of all, they don't know what a mixtape is or a cassette. So, that's you know that's a whole nother story. But I'm dying to know, have any of the artists that the names of their music that you've used, have they ever like reached out to you and said, hey, that's so cool, or that's awesome?
So I did a series leading up to the book coming out where each day I would share it. I called it my track unveiling party. So
Okay.
I would play a snippet from the song. Um, it's on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram at Johnzelle underscore, there's a little highlight reel and you can
Hmm.
watch all of them. But I would tag the artist and I would play a snippet of the song and I would read a piece of that section of the book just to be like, hey, this is why I chose this song, right?
Hmm.
Most of the artists, obviously, Megan the Stallion ain't got no time to, pay attention to little old me, right? But one artist, Mayada, who she has a song that I use called "Rest in Peace, Captain Savaho." Um,
Okay.
or I had tagged her, and at one point she had commented on something saying that she was just excited that I used her song and that she's looking forward to reading my book. So um, the you know the ability also to, it's not just like top 40 artists that I picked, but some of
Yeah.
these people are going to be like, who is this and why did um, I so no, I didn't get a ton of like, I tagged the artist when I would
Right.
play snippets of the songs or whatever, but yeah, that one stood out to me because it's like I the song that I chose, like her song that I chose, went with
Uh-huh.
the track of the book that was my most painful one to write. Like that section of the book was my hardest thing to write. It's also my favorite chapter, so it was kind of like, oh,
Wow.
the music that I chose, it goes to a part of the story that it was the most meaningful for me. So,
That's and that's got to feel great for the artist. I mean, especially an
mhm,
up and coming artist, like her, and for her to say, not only is somebody listening to my craft, my music, they like it, and he liked it so much he used it for his book. Like
mhm.
that's got to feel awesome for him. So I'm glad she was able to reach out and tell you how she felt. So here you are. I've got a question. I've got because
Okay.
you seem to be a hip hop head, just a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So if you could, look, give me one. No, you know what? Give me two. Give me two tracks. If you could sum up the entire beginning of your life. Listen, pre-therapy,
Hmm.
what's that one track? And then after therapy, one track. He's back in the
I'm gonna
lab.
just use. I'm gonna use my playlist from the book because I know one of
Oh,
them.
okay. Okay.
Um, okay. Pre-therapy, we're gonna go with "Lost Ones" by Miss Lauryn Hill.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, and post-therapy, "Not Nice" by Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay. All right. So if anybody knows those songs, they can kind of generalize like just by the musical tracks that you just selected, kind
Hmm.
of, what Johnzelle is kind of, all about. Now, not in detail, but a generalization, right?
Hmm.
So of course, uh Lost Ones is like that's one of the greats. I mean, come on,
Hmm.
that's Miss Lauren. It's
Yeah.
that's Miss Lauren. And I think I'm older than Lauren, but she's still Miss
Hmm.
Lauren to me.
Yeah.
So you being a therapist, and you know dealing with uh, different issues,
Hmm.
different things from different people, and are you still in therapy yourself? Because I've
I,
always felt that I, I'm like, for someone to sit there and listen to all of these things that people are going through, I'm like, geez, I would definitely need some
mhm.
need some type of. So I'm curious. Are you in therapy as well?
Yeah, I've been in therapy on and off since I first started back in college.
Wow.
Um, and so I'm currently, I guess, off, as in I'm not actively going.
Right. Right.
In 2023, when I first started writing this book, I went through four therapists that year.
Wow. Wow.
And the a rough thing is that being a therapist, it's really hard to find a therapist. And it's weird because I definitely have clients of mine who are therapists, but I feel like when I try to find a therapist and they know I'm a therapist, they treat me different. It's almost like if they challenge me or something, it's almost like oh,
Oh.
you're not listening to me because you think you know it. I feel like it's a power struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and I find it hard to get the care that I deserve. So I lately my therapy has been more holistic. So I have been doing yoga. Um, I go to massage therapy. I obviously like digging into my craft of storytelling and writing, doing
Right.
poetry. That's been more my holistic therapeutic approaches.
Okay.
But I'm not opposed to going back to therapy. It's just it was really hard. I would say writing this book felt like therapy on steroids, though.
Oh
So
wow.
that was the most therapeutic thing I've ever done.
Wow.
And only I could have done that work because it was sitting with it. But yeah, I'm not opposed to going back to therapy if I felt I needed it. But yeah, in my experience, it's kind of like go when you need it. It I don't need to be every single week or anything
Right.
like
Right.
that.
Right. I'm curious. After you wrote this book, um, were you able to share it with anybody from your past, your childhood? Like, were you able to say, appreciate if you read this, so that they could see what you were going through and how you were affected, maybe some of the things that they did or said attributed to that. Were you able to share it?
I was. It didn't go so great.
Wow.
If you read the book, you'll see that a lot of my family of origin eventually got cut off because they were terrible human beings. But one of the people that remained was my maternal grandmother. And, throughout the book, you see her as being my hero and like the one person that loved me. And then in
Right.
my, like as I got older, she kind of turned into the op. And then there was kind of like some healing and like getting back to a good place. But when the book came out, she bought a copy of it and started
Okay.
reading it. And it I wouldn't say it traumatized her, but being accountable to her role in things was
Mm,
not something she had the emotional capacity to do. So it
okay.
was, then it was almost like she was calling me, blowing my phone up, being like, "Oh my God," like freaking out and being like, I'll never forgive myself for this," and all. It was just, it was dramatic, and she ended up like not finishing the book. She made a big to do about returning the book to me. Like, I'm giving it back. I don't want this. Like, um, so
She literally gave the book back?
she literally brought the book to my house and like returned it. And so I didn't feel too much of a way about that because I wasn't seeking validation from her. But they say when you write your story, don't expect those who harmed you to read it.
Mm,
Um, I don't know if I don't speak to my mother, I don't speak to my father. I don't know if they'll ever read this, and I don't care um, because you don't write your story for as a revenge tour. You
right.
write it for to inform, to uh, liberate, and whether it be you, the writer, or someone who has had a similar experience to um, be seen, right?
Right.
Um, Now, if they those various people are, I guess, brave enough to read the story, whatever impact it has on you, it has. My disclaimer at the start of the book is the stories are true. I changed most of the names so my ops can't sue my black ass. Like, so I changed your name, and if you feel a way about being written about, you should have behaved better. So um, that's that's kind of where I'm at on that. But yeah, I don't know if my mission was for the people who didn't act right to somehow have a aha,
Right.
that would have been a waste of time writing this book
Right.
because they didn't act right when I told them they weren't acting right while they were doing it. So
Right.
what about it being in a book would make them change? And furthermore, they don't have access to me. Even if you did have a change of heart or you felt something, uh, you're not adding any value. So I've kind of done a lot of acceptance and healing through the therapy and whatnot,
Right.
uh, so that I don't need them to. But I guess it would be interesting. I don't particularly want to know their reactions to it, but they can talk to their own therapist about that.
God. So you were able to move from a time in your maybe an area of or a time of confusion. I'm sure there were a lot of feelings growing up. I'm sure there were a ton of things that you but confusion had to be one of them. So confusion to, let's say, clarity,
Mm.
and who you are, and who you wanted to be. What was one of the main things that helped you make that transition?
From confusion to clarity. It sounds cliche, but books and
Mhm.
music are my best friends.
Okay.
Um, I try to make that apparent through mixtape. Like, I kind of give nods to obviously the music I was listening to, what the
Right.
pop culture was doing, but also I try to highlight like what book was I reading at that time that meant something to me. Like, I think of like The Boxcar Children in fourth grade. I think of reading Matilda by Roald Dahl. I think of reading The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl by Issa Rae when I was in grad school. Like, the books that I was reading anchored me,
Hmm.
and they helped me to find a sense of clarity in something. Like, I'm at a point now where I'm 33, but I read an average of over 100 books a year,
Mm.
because uh, that's my escape, but
Yeah.
also it is where I can be loved, liked, and understood.
Hmm.
I can get into someone's head, and it's cheaper and healthier than doing drugs. So.
Wow. Okay. So there are many people out there, probably caught between two cultures, like you were yourself. Caught between two cultures, different expectations, different labels, like you talked about earlier. What's that one piece of advice that you would give someone that's still searching to find out where they belong?
You're worthy of reciprocity.
Mm.
Um, Reciprocity means love, like, and understanding in multiple directions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the searching means that you don't currently have the safety. Um, but knowing that you're worthy of love, like, and understanding is very important. Knowing that you're worthy of reciprocity is important. Um, because if you don't know that you're worthy of something, your search might get distracted. You might
Mm.
settle, or you might grab for something that's inadequate because it's something.
Okay.
Um, and furthermore, I would add, only you can define your identity.
Mm.
I I exist on a lot of different intersections. Like, I am biracial black. I refer to myself as being black.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a single dad
Mm-hmm.
because I'm separated. It takes a year to get a divorce in Virginia, but I'm a single dad. I am a company of one. But I'm bisexual. So think of, like, okay, biracial, bisexual, right? And right now I am dating men. So people are like, oh, but does that mean you're gay? And it's like, okay, I have to know my identity so that everyone on the outside doesn't try to step in and be like, this is what you are.
Gotcha.
Or me saying I'm black, but they'll be like, but you're mixed. And I'm like, mind your business. Because I've been living my life and I know who I am.
Right.
So, as a person searching for belonging, know who you are internally, love, like, and understand yourself internally. Fortify that, because the world is going to try to throw you off kilter. But if you know who you are,
Mm.
you will align yourself with people who will see you for who you are versus trying to tell you who they want you to be. And I think that's really important.
Wow, that's power. That's powerful. Know who you are, so the
Mm.
world cannot define
Yeah, they will
that.
try their
That
damnness with no
yeah,
context
with
or
none,
knowledge.
zero.
Yeah.
So if someone listening to this episode says, man, that first let's deal with the memoir first, because see, look, I'm gonna just ask, can a brother get a signed copy? See, I want a copy, but I want a signed copy
Okay.
from the author himself. So we'll chop that up and discuss that
I
afterwards.
can answer that for you real quick.
Okay, okay,
Signed copy, if you go to
okay.
johnzelle.co. This is my first name, Johnz, like zebra, ELLE.co. If you go there, that's my author website, and there's a series of links for where you can buy the book. But there's one at the top that says signed paperback. So if you click that and buy that copy, I'll mail you a copy that I personalized to you. So
Oh,
that's the easiest
let's
way to
see.
get a signed copy.
Oh, that's already done then. All right,
Yeah.
cool. So I guess likewise, if somebody just wanted to buy the book and they would go to the same website, I guess
Mhm.
there's a picture. Anywhere else? I mean, is it on maybe Amazon
It's everywhere. So if you
everywhere?
go to johnzelle.co, I have your Amazon links. I have your Barnes and Noble. I have your bookshop.org. I have the signed paperback thing. I have Audible, Apple, because it's an audiobook, it's an ebook, it's a hardcover, and it's a paperback. So all the formats are available. And you can just go straight to your marketplace. So if you go to Amazon, if you
Okay.
go to Kindle, if you go to wherever you buy books, you can go on the website and find it there. So it's mass distributed. So yeah. Now I don't know if it will be in brick and mortar stores because I'm a debut
Okay.
author, but there's a few black-owned
Hey,
bookstores that have it in stock. But yeah, if you go
Oh, sweet.
online to any bookstore, you can find it. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's gonna be in brick and mortars too.
thank you.
We're gonna speak those things in existence. It's gonna be in brick and mortars everywhere. It's gonna be everywhere, everywhere. Because something like this needs to be read and listened to. That's the
Hmm.
dope part about it. Like the music integration. It's
Yeah.
like when just some of the music that I've heard you reading your bio, and there's a couple. I was like, okay, that's definitely. So I'm dying to listen. You said 34 or 35. What was it? 30,
I think it's 36. Yeah.
36 tracks. So I'm
Hmm.
dying to hear these tracks. So
Yeah.
if someone wanted to reach out to you,
Hmm.
if they wanted to, because you've got other writings, right? You've got other works.
I am working on 3 other books right now.
Okay.
So I'm working on a children's book. I'm working on a kind of like a bisexual romance novel.
Okay.
And then I'm also working on a second memoir in verse. So it's new stories, but it will be written in poetry. So
Oh,
I'm,
so how
I'm
how
working on
can
other things.
someone stay connected to you? How can someone find you and say, man, I
Mhm.
got to stay connected to this guy because I'm dying to hear the rest of his works.
Yeah. So I already said johnzelle.co is the website
Hmm.
where you can find the book and things like that. I'm on Instagram at Johnzelle underscore. So JOHN like Nancy, Z like zebra, ELLE underscore. So you'll see a cover. The cover of the book is the bio picture, and you follow me there. I post a lot about even just the books that I'm reading. So I love reading books by and about Black storytellers. So I
Hmm.
post book reviews just for fun.
Hmm.
I post cute pictures of my kid. I post things that I'm doing with my writing and stuff like that. So that's probably the best way to keep up with me. And I respond to DMs and all of that. And of course, I easy to find on the internet because how many John Zells So um, you know.
You never
Anyway,
know. I mean, you never know. I mean, now you're the first I have met, but but you
yeah,
never know.
yeah.
So, man, I appreciate you stopping through on the Life Strong Project. This is awesome. Again, Life Strong Project family. I'm sorry. Please go out there and support this brother, Johnzelle Anderson. Support the memoir mixtape. Um, go out there and listen and slash read. I don't know. Is there a word can we call it? No, I guess not, because listen and read. We're gonna come up with a word so you can do both.
Uh,
Because
yeah. Listen and read. I mean, technically, listening to an audiobook is reading. So, if you're
okay,
listening to an audiobook, that's reading. So, you're taking intentional time to absorb a story, so it counts.
but okay, and we're gonna agree to this because you're not
But
reading.
what he's
You're
saying,
listening.
y'all, is buy the audiobook and buy the physical copy, and I ain't mad at it.
Exactly.
Do
Do
what the
both.
man
Do
said.
both.
And I
Support
narrate
them.
the audiobook, so
Oh,
it's
sweet.
me
Okay.
reading
All
it
right.
to you.
So
Yeah,
that's actually you. That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
So, man, we appreciate you again stopping through in the Life Strong Project. Again, everyone go out there, support him, follow him, stay abreast of what he's doing because he's got a lot coming down the pipe. Johnzelle Anderson, man, thanks for stopping through. We appreciate
Thank you for
everything
having
that
me.
you're doing, especially for people in need, people like you, people in the community. Uh, it's amazing. I think so many times we always want to glorify the people that are doing crazy stuff. Man, we don't
Mm,
glorify those that are actually doing something for
mm.
the benefit of others. And man, that this I think is definitely going to benefit a lot of people. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And Life Strong family, that is a wrap for today's episode. Again, make sure you guys go out there, like and subscribe to this to the podcast. Like this episode, comment on this episode, and reach out to Mr. Anderson at your leisure. And as always, your life is fleeting. You must cherish it. Your life is yours. You've always got to live it. This is your host, AC, along with Johnzelle Anderson. On behalf of Mr. Johnzelle Anderson, we appreciate you guys listening in, and that's a wrap. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Life Strong Project.